Hello, good evening, Professor Carl and colleagues. My name is Oscar Gonzalez, and I'm here to present the state-of-the-art part 3 of my research paper, which name has Academic Writing in Colombia, the Cognitive Skills in the Early Years. So I am going to start introducing the paper and defining the academic writing. What's academic writing? So I have some definitions here. Togatorov in 2015 says that writing is known as one of the most important but difficult academic skills. And Whitaker also says that it's the writing that students use to produce their work in university or college courses. And we have to keep this idea in mind for further information. Noonan, Brown, and Harmer say that academic writing is a complex activity, and this is very important because it's a complicated thing. It has complicated components that need mastering, such as the use of punctuation, syntax, grammar, communication skills, development of ideas, content, organization, and vocabulary. And then now it also has to go with the author's voice, which is in the academic writing, also needs a strong language literacy, precision, and supporting ideas with details and explanations. But these favor the argument of the writer and support his or her voice. So Street says that the key elements for this academic writing is the correct grammar structure, fluency, smooth flow of ideas, content proficiency, grammatical and spelling accuracy, and punctuation, create discussion around a topic with a target audience, and engage in discourse that demonstrates a clear point of view. And if you think about all these things, it's a very complex thing to master well in all aspects, because you need to link all these skills together to be able to be successful by doing this. So I created a bullet list with the most important academic writing things that are needed. So academic writing is a formal writing that needs first strong language literacy and then precision, supporting ideas to favor the argument of the author, clear structure, flow in content, strong in grammar and spelling, punctuation usage, research skills, that author is able to show the evidence to support his ideas by citing authors correctly. And so in this way, what do we need? We need Anderson, Mora, Gonzalez, and Cuesta, Medina, Flower, and Hayes. They also say that to help develop ideas through academic writing, you need high order thinking skills, which are creating, evaluating, and analyzing. And these have to be also supported by persuasive or argumentative skills, right? Persuasive uses the personal thoughts, uses emotions, and attempts to persuade the reader to change his or her mind, and does not present any opposing view. While argumentative presents one side of the issue, but must analyze the informational text to generate a thesis statement, and must analyze information text to address the counterpart of the counterclaim. So he's able to give a feedback or to answer or to counter answer. So with this comes the rhetoric and composition. You know, the person needs to use ethos, pathos, and logos. And as you see, this gets a little bit complicated and complex as we go deeper into this. So it is the use to build arguments and persuade. So what's logos? Is the use of logic and reasoning. Ethos is the build of credibility as you say your ideas, and pathos creates the emotions and the empathy with the person. Then these discursive claims of value are used mostly in the social, political, cultural, and public arena, which is the social life, not only in the academic life. And in this, people need to be aware what's the difference between my personal point of view and what is a fact. you know, because it's critical life stage to develop critical thinking skills. People need to be able to say, okay, this is the truth, and this other part is what I think. It's my opinion. So what I think differs a lot from what academic writing or academic thinking is. In this sense, what's needed then about the writer? Because it's very important that we need to know that the writer needs to display knowledge. He needs to be too proficient in the topic with any specific disciplinary thinking. So he needs to be formally literate, and needs to be able to make interpretations, correct interpretations of the information, and needs to have presenting skills to be able to connect those ideas, synthesizing strategies, make things shorter, which is very difficult. I myself think I have that situation, and analyzing the information in a critical way, comparing, contrasting, and in this way, we come to a problem in the CAP that I found, or I think there is in education in Colombia. So I'm just going to start little by little to show you a little bit deeper my ideas. In this, Humans argues that the cognitive academic language proficiency is best developed first in mother tongue and L1, and then transferred to L2. But is this the case? What is still unclear is that this transfer of cognitive abilities from L1 to L2 for proficient academic writing is not clear in the Colombian context. So this language transfer, this transfer of learning, is it only the language, or is it also, or does it go before that to a cognitive skill or cognitive skills? So it's the application of skills, knowledge, and or attitudes that were learned in one situation to another learning situation, as Perkins suggests from 1992. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the gap. So as I just defined academic writing, and the skills needed for successful academic writing are important for success in professional, civic, and academic life. The English language academic writing abilities are traditionally important for success in the global arena, as just mentioned before. But how does that happen before? I mean, how people don't get there just magically. They need a process to get there. And in the current Colombian educational policies, there are no emphasis in academic writing. There is nothing in literacy about reading or writing in Spanish, much less than in English. So people have difficulties developing these reading and writing skills because they focus more on conversational skills. So many students are obligated to self-learn academic writing. And I'm taking these ideas from the feedback from Professor Carl, because I think this is the next step, right? And I agree with you, Professor, that many students are obligated to self-learn later on, because there's no policy. They just go on and on looking for improvement, and it happens to many of us, but because there is nothing coming from clear policy. So when learners reach higher education, there is a lot of difficulties reaching the correct literacy level or proficiency in L1. So how can that happen in L2? So let's throw a lifesaver. So let's see. A solution would be maybe to develop many of the cognitive skills from a younger age. People don't get there on their own, and there is not a clear policy that shows how to do that. So by doing this through the teaching of English, it would further support the development of academic writing skills in additional language. In this sense, there has been little research on how to do this, probably in any context, much less in Colombia. So if we know how to do this previously, and there's a policy on that, we can rely on that. Maybe we can have a better understanding of this and help this situation to improve. So if this improves, many institutions and learners can benefit to performing this research. So let's go with this idea in mind. Let's go into the details: academic language and literacy. I still have like 5 minutes. So language literacy, it organizes ideas correctly to read and how to start writing. There is written comprehension as an essential element to become proficient in language and content, to become an expert. And become literate in the field of discipline can be also a cultural competency, right? And then people can acquire knowledge through concepts as a formal vocabulary. So in this sense, if people need agency and self-management, and through all this, they can become responsible and get a lot of meaningful learning and reach their goals, prioritize things. And when they are able to do this, they should be able also to acknowledge the work of others and to support their ideas while they find evidence in their research. But how do we do this in English? Should English be English as an international language, or English as a lingua franca, I'm sorry. So just to say, Colombian learners, is part of the conclusion here, is that Colombian learners' development of Spanish literacy should be optimal, but it's not. So in this paper, I focus on academic literacy in English. However, the strategies can help develop academic skills that can also be used to address the problem of academic writing in Spanish. And the same cognitive and rhetorical skills can also be intercultural, which are much needed. We can transfer those skills. So there's not a Colombian policy on how to develop academic language and literacy or cognitive academic skills in primary learners. And there is very little research showing what such policies should look like. Second, cognitive academic skills. Well, as we know that Benjamin Bloom, and we see the Bloom's taxonomy was first developed in 1982, we could use these cognitive fundamental skills going from low order thinking skills to high order thinking skills, and use the working memory to use the cognitive and affective and psychomotor skills. In this way, if we compare this, it seems like Cleo could use Bilks and Cobbs, which is the basic interpersonal communicative skills, to go into a more formal, more complex cognitive academic language proficiency, which is CALPS. So again, as I mentioned before, there's not a clear Colombian policy on how to develop these cognitive academic skills that we know that we have studied, but we don't see it in the policy. And there's not a lot of research on this, very little. And then finally, the primary level learners mentioned Piaget's stages of cognitive development. And these students from primary section are students that are from ages, let's say 5 to 12, 5 to 11, which are in the pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. These characteristics are different from college, university, very obviously, learners, but there is the cognitive and affective characteristics are there to be developed at these first stages, and there's a lot of need to pay attention to this stage. So in this case, I'll say there's not much research showing that should be the way to how to help the students of these ages acquire what is needed for further academic success. And there's not a clear Colombian policy on how to scaffold and develop academic skills in primary level learners according to the life cycle and age. So the conclusions are the Colombian learners' development of Spanish literacy is underdeveloped even in tertiary levels. Second, the strategies to develop academic English or academic skills can be also used to address the problem of academic writing in Spanish. The same cognitive and rhetorical skills can also be intercultural, which are transferable. And there's not a Colombian policy on how to develop academic, as I mentioned before, language and literacy, cognitive academic skills in primary level